Hey everybody, Meg here, back for another week with you. This week's blog is about myths and realities of coming to therapy. There are so many myths about therapy that just aren't real anymore. Sometimes these myths came from somewhere, they came from a reality where we used to be in our understanding of therapy. Um, for example, lying down on a couch. That's something that used to be pretty common. You know, when you went into a psychiatrist's office, they'd say, "Hey, lie down on the couch and close your eyes, and let's work through a lot of what's going on for you." Nowadays, the therapists want you to be awake. They want you to look at them. They want you to sit up. They don't want you lying on a couch. Cultural influences have a big part in myth as well. What some cultures believe versus what our culture believes. When you teach your kids a certain your own belief systems, they're not right or wrong, they're just different. So you might have a completely different take on therapy, and that could be because therapy in a different culture is very different, or it could just be a cultural perception of therapy. One way or the other, you might pass those on to your kids, and then your kids have these beliefs about therapy in the United States that aren't necessarily true. Um, Myths can also come from media, movies. There's so many movies that just don't portray therapy accurately. Um, and yet, this is where we get the majority of our information. Unless you know somebody who's in therapy and you say, "What is your experience?" And even when you do that, not everybody's open with it. They're like, "Oh, it's fine, it's fine." But they may not tell you what it's really like to be in therapy. So it's kind of this unknown. And what you see about it is on television, on movies. But that's not always the reality either. Myths aren't necessarily bad. They're not necessarily, there's nothing wrong with them per se, but they can hold people back from getting the help that they need. Therapy isn't just for people who are weak, for people who are sick. We all need support. We all need help every now and then in our lives. Even therapists, even though we know I need to do breathing, I need to go to the gym, I need to communicate with properly with my spouse. Even though we know this stuff, it's not always easy for us to do either. We're human also. But not only that, the secondary trauma that we get from hearing your stories is a real thing. And we might need the support from a therapist to help us through some of that as well. Just because we are therapists doesn't mean we know it all, and doesn't mean we don't need the support ourselves. So therapy is not just for people who are weak, it's not just for people who are sick. Therapy can benefit everybody. And there's so many different forms of therapy, whether it's a solution-focused brief therapy, which is only a couple sessions, or it's psychoanalytic, which is longer. There are so many different forms of therapy that you're going to get your needs met. And you just have to find the right therapist. You're going to meet your goals. You just need to find the right therapist. You're not going to be in therapy forever. You know, first of all, insurance companies don't pay for that anymore. After a certain number of sessions, they'll either cut you off or they'll ask for an authorization as to why aren't you quote unquote better yet. So it's you're not going to be in therapy forever. Different therapists have different models, like I was just talking about solution focused or psychoanalytic. But then other therapists will incorporate different aspects. They might incorporate movement. Some therapists will get a teenager outside and playing basketball, for example. You're not necessarily just sitting in the office chatting. So this week's blog really delves into several myths about several myths and realities about therapy. After you read the blog, drop me a line, let me know if I missed anything. Do you have any questions? Do you have any myths that you've heard or that you believe that you're wondering, is this true or is this just a myth? If I have to do a second YouTube, I will definitely do a second YouTube because I really want to bust the myths that are out there about therapy. Therapy is so beneficial. It's so helpful. People really get a lot out of it, and not just people that are sick or weak. People really grow and gain so much out of therapy that I want to bust as many myths as possible. Maybe what you bring to me is a reality, and that's important to know as well. So I look forward to hearing your questions, your comments, and head on over to my blog, https // Young, LCSW, /my-blog. I look forward to hearing from you and look forward to next week when we meet again. Talk to you soon.